Hearing none, a vote please. Butcher.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Harold.
Aye.
Livia Wright. Aye. Moore.
Aye.
We are now on 4.0 consent agenda. May I have a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, a vote please. Butcher.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Harold.
Aye.
Livia Wright. Aye. Moore.
Aye.
And we are now on item 5.0, board update, and we can start with David.
Well, I just attended the special education meeting, CI, and we're having on March 12th a D49 Got Talent, right? D49 Got Talent. So it's going to be a fundraiser for the special education, and I encourage all of you guys to attend. We're going to have a great time. It's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. So, you know, mark that date off, March 12th.
Where at?
This is going to be at the Creekside Center, right across the street from Sand Creek, right?
At
No.
Sand Creek Auditorium.
Oh, it's going to be at Sand Creek?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's changed. I'm sorry. It's Sand Creek now. Okay. Okay, so it's going to be at the Sand Creek Auditorium. Okay. From 3 to 9, right, Zach?
Yes, sir.
3 to 9. Okay. Be there or be square.
And Stanley?
Just wish everybody a happy new year. Welcome back. I'm excited for all the basketball going on. I love all my high school sports, so it's good to see all of our teams doing so well this year. I'm really excited. I'm going to go to the playoffs and see how that all goes. So I'm excited for the next couple months.
I'd like to say thank you to everyone for being here, especially our St. Story Express personnel and volunteers. And go Falcon, they're wrestling tonight. I don't have anything.
Okay, and our next would be our chief officer updates. And Peter is actually at a conference tonight. That's why he's not here, and I believe Brett will take care of his update for us.
Yes, Peter, never has a lack for words and wanting to say them, has submitted his report. So I will read it. Number one, he wanted to make sure that everyone knew that, and that CDE has announced that Colorado will transition from requiring all juniors to take the ACT to requiring all juniors to take the SAT. So after some negotiation with that adjustment, the transition will phase in over 2 years now. I think it's going to be a 1 year. So the current junior class will still take the ACT, but the current sophomore class is the one that will end up seeing the first change to take the PSAT this year, which is not identical to the PSAT related to the National Merit Scholarship. And then when they are juniors, they will take the regular SAT. And so we're adjusting the academic targets and preparation appropriately. And of course, as the chief business officer, I'm not really qualified to elaborate much on it. So if you had any questions, I would say Zach or Amber are here to help with that. Another thing Peter wanted to mention was that D49 completed the mid-year review of primary literacy efforts across the district. And many of our mid-year growth results compare favorably with our full-year growth from a year ago. We will bring a more formal analysis and report in the future, but we congratulate our students and our educators for making reading a firm foundation commitment for D49. Finally, the State Board of Education has officially selected Richard Crandall as the new Commissioner of Education. Mr. Crandall comes to us from Arizona. That's really all you need to know from my perspective. Being an Arizona guy, also spent time in Wyoming. He has a background in the Arizona State Legislature after I was doing that. Locals, huh? Just read. No, I have to comment. Yeah, he's been involved with local school boards, private businesses, and a former leading in the Wyoming Department of Education as well. So I did have a chance transitioning to my report to meet Mr. Crandall actually this week at the Colorado Succeed Luncheon. I was invited to be a panel speaker at that luncheon. It was a lot of fun and a good exposure for us. There was well over 200 people there in Denver. It's kind of a chamber of commerce type of feel, so a lot of business folks there. Also a lot of folks there from the state level, state legislature, both House and Senate, and as well as CDE. So I got to meet Mr. Crandall. He was very engaged listening to the presentations that we were making and had a lot of questions, really excited about what we're doing here in 849 and wanted to come down and visit us like right away. I said, fantastic. We will try and make that happen. So I guess that's all for Peter and I both.
A couple things I've got. We received a thank you today from Academy School District 20 in reference to yesterday's event at Sand Creek. And first of all, I want to thank the Dave Watson and security team, as well as Matt Meister and the communication team for how we handled the lockdown at Sand Creek yesterday. Second thing is our security team has been chosen to actually do operations for the educating children of color event that's occurring at Colorado College this weekend. So we get some good recognition, and at least we have our staff is getting recognized on the security side as well, but on a couple avenues.
And Sydney, did you have anything to share?
Not particularly.
Yeah, well, we just have a few other things. First, please remember, board and chiefs, to fill out your evaluation forms for the meeting as we go through. We do, every month, the board receives an informational item to help us continue with our own professional development, and this month's is the board's relationship with its auditor, which is apropos given we'll be looking at our budget and approving the amended budget, as well as receiving some of the auditing reports over this month. And as Jack mentioned, the Educating Children of Color Conference is going on this Saturday, and I believe we again have a contingent of district members and board members attending. It's a great event. You can really learn a lot about our diverse community and how we can really help each other to learn and to grow. And with that, we are on to open forum. Do we have anyone signed up? Okay. So let's close then. We have action item 7.0 is our action items, which would just be if we were looking at the consent agenda. We didn't have that tonight. 8.0 is information items. Those are predominantly just for the board, so that we have an idea of some extra things that are going on. And that's it for action items tonight. We are on to discussion. And our first discussion item is item 9.01, Unified Improvement Plan Update.
Use that clicker you got.
This one? Good evening. I'm Amber Wedstein, Executive Director of Learning Services. And I'm here this evening to give you your quarterly update on the Unified Improvement Planning process. You'll remember that last quarter I presented the district improvement plan, and that is still in draft form and it is continuing to be updated. And this evening's focus is on the school improvement plans. Both the district unified improvement plan and each of the school unified improvement plans will be brought back to you in March for approval in April. And at that time, they'll be submitted to CDE for public viewing. So one of the most important things to remember about the improvement planning process is that it is a process and it's continuous. And so it really aligns with our strategy and culture of continuous improvement, as you see here. The learn phase typically involves schools collecting and analyzing their student achievement data. And as we've discussed before, this is a little bit of a unique year in that we administered our first PARCC assessments this past spring. We did receive the results of those assessments in December. And at this point in time, the schools are digging into those results and comparing the results across their zones, across the district. They're looking at their scores in comparison with state and national scores, and also considering their participation rates. Christy Rigdon, our coordinator of curriculum, instruction, and assessment, will be providing you with a presentation on those results, I believe, at the next work session. So you'll see an overview of those, and you can expect to see an analysis of those within the school improvement plans as those continue to be updated. We do have some results that we are already able to act upon, and in alignment with our primary literacy initiative, the DIVLS Next assessment is one that we rely on to see if our students are reading on grade level by 3rd grade. And as Brett mentioned, you'll notice that our 15-16 results are very promising. We have already made a 10 percentage point increase in the number of students scoring on benchmark from the beginning of the year to mid-year. And then this slide is just a reminder that we set many of our school and district targets around our percentile ranking for state assessments beginning last year. And we did this in order to make the transition smoother from the TCAP assessment to the PARCC assessment. These percentile rankings show how our schools are achieving in comparison to the state. And so we would expect that we would at least perform at the 50th percentile. You can see that in many cases we're above that line, and in some cases we are below that line. And in all cases, we want to continue to improve how we're comparing with other schools and districts across the state. We do not have these results yet for PARCC. I am most recently being told that by the end of January, we will have these. You've been hearing a lot from zone leaders about ACT this year, and we will take the ACT this spring in 11th grade, and so we will set targets to increase those scores for this year as compared to last year. Here you see our district results compared to the districts that we've selected as our competitor and comparison districts in our performance excellence work. And then you'll also see the results and trends of our district high schools. As we transition to the SAT beginning next spring, we will continue to look at our trends with student achievement at the high school level. The state is assuring us that they will provide guidance on how to compare ACT to SAT as we make that transition. Okay, the work phase. This is really what we're involved in at this point in time. The schools are implementing the action plans and the improvement strategies. They're monitoring the fidelity of those actions, and they're making adjustments as they see student achievement results. For those of you who are new, we have 4 district priorities within our Unified Improvement Plan. The first has to do with improving primary literacy. The second is around creating pathways for students at the high school level that will prepare them for college and careers. We want to continue to align our instruction and our expectations with the rigor of the new Colorado academic standards. And we know that we need to continue to provide professional development to our teachers and our leaders to sustain those efforts. Okay. And the final phase is leading. And as we're doing the work, we're also noticing what's working and what's not at the district and school level, and adjustments are already being made mid-year. Principals are also already planning for actions over the summer and into next school year at this point, based on early results that they are seeing in their schools. And I'm going to quickly click through these slides. You have been provided with the draft plans for each school. The presentation includes the major improvement strategies for each school within each zone. And the next steps, as I said, we will hopefully be receiving our percentile rankings on PARCC soon so that we can incorporate those into the Unified Improvement Plans and see if we met the targets that we set for ourselves. We'll continue to set new targets for the end of this year and into next year. We also, at this point, are seeking input from the accountability committees at the school and district level. So as the finalized plans come to you for approval, you will have input from those committees by that time. And then, as I said, there will be a presentation of the updated plans at the March work session. I will present the district unified plan at that time, and then each zone leader will provide a summary of the unified improvement plans for their schools. And then once you approve those, we'll submit them to CDE for public viewing. Questions?
Curious about the delay on the PARCC scores. Do we know why we haven't received them yet?
They have to calculate everything, so they are working on that. I've called many times and they keep telling me they're working on it. So they have to analyze the scores and then how each school across, they have to find the 50th percentile and compare the scores across the state. And also because of participation rates being much lower than they've been in the past, they have to factor that in as well. And not all scores are created equally in this case because of varying results of participation.
Are these test scores going to actually have any validity to them? Because I don't know if that's a fair question, but it just seems like we've really got a mess in our standards right now.
I think it depends.
Way to be committal.
Yeah, so schools have been provided guidance on considering what their participation rates were and also which students participated. In many of our schools, we have close to 100% participation, and those results are very much valid. In other schools, participation rates are much lower. So it's going to depend on a school-by-school basis.
So is there any reason why participation would be lower?
Yes. We had a very, there was a big political movement across the state, I would say.
Standard rates?
There was different opinions across the state on the PARCC assessment itself, and so many parents chose to have their students opt out.
Well, I want to commend you. I'm looking at the Devils, and you know, you guys are improving every year since 2013. So, you know, really, congratulations on that. That's great. That's great.
Yeah, and it's really the principals and the teachers are to be commended for their focus on improving student literacy. Thanks.
I think it's important to note that with participation rates, it's the parents exercising their rights to not participate in what they don't agree with.
And so we are on to item 9.02, School Health Improvement Plan Update. This is Rachel Dillard.
Good evening, I'm Rachel Dewar, Coordinator for Health and Wellness for the district, and I'm excited to be here tonight to present on the progress our schools are making around their school health improvement plans, also known as the SHIPs. In our district, we follow the whole school, whole community, whole child model that you see up here. It is a recommended model for learning and health by ASCD and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. So in each school, we have 2 wellness leaders. And what I love about our leaders is they're people passionate about it, but they come from a variety of different backgrounds. We have PE teachers, counselors, secretaries, administrators, interventionists, all serving as our leaders in the school. They lead a wellness team, and they are responsible for writing their school health improvement plans. This year, each school was able to apply for up to $1,500 in Medicaid funds to support student wellness. They all completed a Smart Source assessment, which is going to be our new statewide wellness assessment moving forward. So by our schools participating in the pilot, they each received $300. and each school also received a $100 grant through RMC Health. So we'll get started in the Falcon Zone, and they are going to kick off the new year with a wellness newsletter that'll go out monthly for staff. Now some interactive questions in there so the staff can respond and earn some incentive prizes. Mr. Morris has started a workout club for students, but we're going to end the new year add the staff in to get our staff and students fit together. Over at Falcon Middle School, they are really promoting salads for staff. So if you're in the school, our nutrition services department will prepare a salad for teachers. They can ask for it in the morning and get it delivered to their classroom. So that's really great. We know our teachers are very busy. Probably lots of times don't have time to eat. So a great way to encourage them to have something healthy. As part of their Medicaid funding, they did apply for a set of physical activity long games to offer to students after school. Over at Falcon Elementary School, they had the Denver Museum of Art and Science come down and present on the good, the bad, and the ugly. So these are all the gross things your bodies do and why it's important. So getting the kids involved in that presentation. And we also had some new members to the Hawk family this year, Fred and Fred Jr. So Fred stands for Fun Recess Every Day. So the recess card goes out at lunch, and then each class has a little Fred Jr. recess bag for their classroom recess time, and the teachers are noticing that the students are a lot more active at recess just by having some inexpensive recess equipment available. At Meridian Ranch Elementary School, this hydration station just got installed. It's hard to read that little sign above it, but it shows that it was a collaboration between their health team, their custodial staff, the PE department, and PTA to help fund that station. And at the bottom in the little print, it does say how it was part of their school health improvement plan for this year. Last January, we kicked off the Fitbit Challenge district-wide, and now we're seeing a number of the schools utilizing the Fitbits we provided to our staff, as well as the Fitbit.com platform, and setting up school-level challenges. So Meridian Ranch will be kicking one off. Ridgeview has one going on right now. Odyssey's starting one next week, so we love that we're continuing that. This fall, we were able to purchase additional Fitbits for staff who were either new employees to D49 or did not participate earlier in the year. At Woodman Hills Elementary School, a group of teachers hiked Quandary Peak over fall break. So that is a 14er in our state, so pretty impressive. They all had shirts when they came back from fall break. So great way that they're getting some staff wellness in. And a number of our schools are doing the Boosterthon fun runs. And so these are healthy fundraisers. In addition to just getting out and doing the fun run, this company comes in and provides character education for the students throughout the week. They're on the announcements. I was at Ridgeview today and they were having their Boosterthon event going on. So kids get very excited and great way to raise money. Over in the iConnect zone at Patriot Learning Center, they started open gym in the morning. So instead of the students just sitting outside because they got to school early, they're able to go into the gym, play basketball, use the weight room. So great opportunity for our students. In August, we provided a staff-wide training for PLC staff on brain-based learning, and each teacher got a copy of the book Brainstorm, The Power and Purpose of the Teenage Brain. At Spring Studio, they hosted a Go Noodle parent training. So Go Noodle is a free platform that provides physical activity breaks for students. So great to educate our parents for a virtual academy on ways they can get their kids engaged at home. They have a middle school football club, which had a Super Bowl with the Blue Dragons beating the Green Machine. And then there's a picture of some of the staff members participating in the hot chocolate race in Denver. One thing we have tried to do this year is really try to engage our charter schools more with wellness. So many of them have adopted the district wellness policy. In September, we offered a PE professional development day, and we had charter participants in that. All of our charter schools are participating with the Go Noodle activity breaks. They were all invited to participate in the Smart Source pilot assessment and received $300 for their school. Banning Lewis Ranch Academy also started a wellness team this fall. And Imagine Indigo Ranch was a recipient of one of our NFL Play 60 Fitness grants, which is a fitness assessment for PE. Over in the Power Zone at Vista Ridge High School, they're starting staff workouts after school, so there's some of our staff getting fit. As part of their Medicaid grant, they purchased a tennis table, an opportunity for students during lunch to get some activity. Skyview last year piloted a cooking club during the spring semester. It was so successful, this is going to be a year-round club. We have one of our teachers there teaching students how to make pizza crust with Greek yogurt. And the kids help plan and design the menus, and some Medicaid funds are supporting this club. Odyssey Elementary School is offering a number of after-school physical activity programs for students. They were one of the first schools to receive a grant for their hydration station, so there are some students with their water bottles, and then some kids participating in a Go Noodle break. Bridgeview Elementary School is continuing their WOW, Walk of Wellness Club, and they are having students count the number of steps that they are taking to see how many mountains they can climb this year. And they did notice an increase in staff participation in the club this year, so it's great to see our staff interacting with our students outside the classroom. Stetson Elementary School kicked off the school year with their Family Fit Day on a Saturday. So parents and students had opportunities to, this is part of the walk, the warm up, there were vendors there just to talk to them and provide different opportunities that are available within the community. And the student leadership team for Fuel to Play 60 at Stetson Elementary got recognized as a touchdown school. So the students were dancing on stage to receive their award. Sand Creek High School is going to be hosting a color run as a healthy fundraiser in May. So you guys are all invited to attend that, get some color thrown on you. So they're hoping for a big event with students, staff, community members, all going out in May. They have an appreciation station in their break room, just an easy way to send some thanks to a coworker. Horizon Middle School is continuing to build their school garden. So they have received a number of grants. We've been able to support them through a number of Healthy Schools and Medicaid grants. So there are some photos of their garden. Also in the Sand Creek Zone, Evans Elementary School received 3 hydration stations through a Medicaid grant. And during the holidays, they did their Holiday of Love food drive. Some of that food did go to Care and Share, but we also had families in the school that needed assistance with holiday dinners, so some of the food stayed right in the school. At Remington Elementary School, a number of our schools have applied for grants for the FitStep Pro pedometers. So instead of just measuring students' steps, they measure the number of minutes that they are in moderate to vigorous physical activity during their PE class, and they are uploadable, so the students put their device on a little tracker and immediately there's an Excel sheet for the PE teachers that makes it easy to analyze that data. And they were the first school to share their thank you station that they have in the copy room. So as you're sitting there making copies, you can write a quick note. Springs Ranch Elementary School kicked off the year with their annual walkathon. And instead of just walking, they have the limbo and dance breaks. And so it's a lot of fun. And this year I noticed there were so many parents out there with their students. So it's great to see the parent engagement with that. And they also have some of those fancy pedometers. And this year, instead of us handing out sticks for laps, we had the teachers wear the pedometer as they're doing the laps, and then at the end we could show them their distance. And another save the date, I would like to invite you all to the Sand Creek Zone Wellness Expo, which will be held in the Sand Creek High Gymnasium on Thursday, April 28th from 5 to 7 p.m. So all the Sand Creek Zone schools will be represented. There will be opportunities for you to try different fitness classes, a rock wall. There may even be some incentives to earn some money for Sand Creek Zone schools. So we just had our first planning meeting this week and really looking forward to a zone-wide wellness expo event. Do you guys have any questions?
No, just thank you for the updates. I know it's really been interesting to see as everybody's gotten more focused on it, how it's impacting the kids and the way the conversations are changing in the schools. It's neat. Thank you for all your work.
Great job, really.
And now we're on to 9.03, Administrative Staffing Calibration Report with Mr. Paul.
You can use that, yeah.
Good evening, I'm Paul Anderson, Director of Human Resources. So you may recall that the senior administration and the board has discussed this question of how many administrators do we have relative to various other variables in the district. So we've begun paying closer attention to this over the last, I guess, year and a half or so now. So we've decided that we're going to be doing a twice a year review of this for you. And this is probably not, this is a little bit off cycle. We would have normally done this in the fall. But we are heading into budgeting season, and it's certainly something that we pay attention to as we as we do personnel budgeting. So there are two primary ratios that we pay attention to, first being number of students per administrator, and the second being administrator salary as a percent of budget, and we use district adjusted gross revenue, or DAGR, not the DAGR, just DAGR. I wanted to provide a snapshot of the trends from 2010 to 2016, and when we started looking at this, these measures, we began with 2010, where, and then 2009, 2010, shortly thereafter, there was a reduction in force and some really significant budget cuts across the district. So this just shows that before, during, and after, both for administrators and for students. And you'll note the dip in student count this year that we're all certainly aware of. So when we look at this first ratio with our most current data, we chose this target range of 210 to 230 students per administrator. So with our enrollment dip this year, that takes us down under that target range that we've established. So that has the effect of making us on outside of the range where we had intended to be.
Paul, if we would have had our expected enrollment, would we have been in the range?
Yeah, with our expected or budgeted student count, I think we were right at around 210 or 212, if I recall correctly. We were right at the edge of that range. So we have a secondary measure. This is dollars that are administrator salaries as a percent of the total budget. So this shows that number. This shows us being within that range that we've established of as a percent, 7.2 to 7.6. So that would make that this number is, I think, is tracking like we would probably like it to see. And then finally, we just do an overlay where you see kind of the correlation between the two ratios. And in general, we would probably see these two tracking pretty closely together. So we can see again that dip. If we were in that 210, 212 range, it would be a lot straighter line there, and the trends would have a more direct correlation, I guess you would say.
Marie was just saying if we had the students and everything, the percentage would have been a little lower, maybe?
The percentage of budget would also have been lower because the total budget would have been higher. So it would have been less than the 7.5% as well. So that bar would have come down and the blue line would have come up, which would have made them closer. Exactly, because we hired based on projecteds. I had another question in terms of how we're counting the administrators, because I know as I look through some of the budget information, some of the positions we have are specifically tied to grants. So we get a grant, the grant requires someone to administer the program that the grant's paying for, so we hire an administrator for it. Those are included in our total number of administrators, even though when we hire that person, it's because of a specific separate program. If that program went away, that administrative position would go away too, correct?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay.
Is the grant part of the budget?
Sorry.
The grant part of the budget?
On that slide, if you can go back to that slide. I believe this is just general fund budget because we're talking DAGR. District adjusted gross revenues is just general fund revenues.
Right. So basically, it's it's not accurate because basically we have administrators that are there based on a grant, which is not part of our budget anyway.
Yeah, we're from the position perspective, we're counting the administrators regardless of how they're funded, but those grant dollars aren't showing.
Maybe you can caveat that number with an asterisk or something, say there's 10 that belong to the grants. Because apples to apples, it would be whoever is funded by DAGR would be the administrator you consider here.
Yeah.
Well, or include, well, or include total, because I think you could probably do a dual line, because from a public perspective, they're looking at, but you have this person, you have this person, this person. So it's important for us to show the total number of administrators, but we could maybe do a second bar that says number of administrators covered by grants. Because then anyone looking at the graph can say, oh, but we could subtract this much because those people are really connected. So then it provides both pieces of information.
Sure.
It's just another layer of detail that might be important when we're thinking about, are we admin heavy?
That'll be a good improvement.
This is just to help our public in case they're interested in, being full disclosure. So I think the more accurate we can be, the better.
And I think the visual that we can see on a chart like this is the balance between efficiency and effectiveness, right? And that's what we're always trying to say is what is the right balance? On a chart like this, as we would go above that range, we start losing efficiency but gaining effectiveness. We go below this range, it's the opposite. We start losing effectiveness and gaining efficiency, and we have the same type of style on there. So that shaded area is where we're saying that's where we're landing in that best mix of being efficient and being effective for the students.
Good job on hitting the target, because that's a pretty small. 0.4 is pretty, we really tied your hands some of that, so I appreciate you.
A+ work, right? That's what you want.
That's right.
And so our next item is 9.04, revised job descriptions. Is that correct?
Good evening, Zach Reddick with Individualized Education. Before you, you have a proposal to revise 2 job descriptions. Just move this. The first one, we were requesting to move our, there we go. Our D49 Pathways Data Technician. This is a new position that started in the fall of 2015. Years past, the district had a district counselor that supported all of our schools. That position became redundant when we moved to the zone model. That just need was not really there. We replaced it with a D49 administrative assistant for under the Pathways piece, our 49 Pathways program. We have a person in that position doing an exceptional job, but the job's changed due to the needs of the high school, our 5 high schools, and all of our middle schools. Any student in grades 6 through 12. This person currently, this position currently serves to manage the entire college in Colorado system that houses all the ICAPs. To date, they've created over 4,000 student accounts and over 150 teacher accounts to support our high schools and the advisement process for the ICAP. So we're requesting to move this from a range 14 to a range 17. This will align more appropriately with our special education data technician as well. The next request is with our health paraprofessionals. We'd like to reclassify this as a health paraprofessional. In the past, it's been a health tech. We currently have 19 health techs in all of our buildings. They support the medical needs for all of our kids. And we believe moving them from a range 3 to a range 5 will make us more competitive in the city. We have had extensive turnover the last 2 years in this position.
So that's an increase of what in their salaries?
We've broken it down total for the year, well, for the remaining portion of the year is $12,000, just over $12,000. As far as the breakdown of the range, I believe it, Paul, do you know the difference between 3 and 5? I didn't pull that. I want to say it's less than $2 an hour. It is. It's less than $2 an hour.
So how is that budget? Well, go. This is good on.
Hiding behind Ron's budget.
So how is that as far as sustainable as far as the budget goes? My favorite question.
It can sustain that.
It's good?
Yeah.
Then I'm good.
Okay.
When this is moved for action, can you just include the sheets of what the ranges are?
Yes, we'll make sure that that's put in there. We'll make sure we have that salary schedule for you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm just, so This is different from the nurses we have in schools.
Correct. What we have 10 school nurses right now, and our school nurses are itinerant, so they rove from school to school. Our health techs are based on a campus. They report to the building principal, and they receive the delegation services from our registered nurses. All of our school nurses are registered nurses, and they delegate that license to our health tech in order to provide medical care, administer medicine, first aid, CPR, AED support, diabetes. They do, I can't tell you enough of what our healthcare professionals are currently doing. They're the first responders in a crisis situation, a medical emergency, 99% of the time in schools.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, is everyone okay with moving these two job descriptions forward for action for next month? Okay, so Debbie, can you move those forward for us, please?
Thank you.
And we are now on to 9.05, election planning with Brad.
Ridgeway Chief Business Officer, and excited to continue this discussion on election planning for November 2016 election.
Is the
Use which? This?
Yep.
Okay, I apologize that these pages are out of order. I got a little exuberant, I guess, in putting the package together. And these are the two new pages, and they came in right at the very front of the presentation instead of at the end. Of course, these are the two pages I was going to talk about anyway, so I guess in some ways it's a moot point. Anyway, the work we're doing is really going well. I'm starting to have a lot of presentations with various staff groups. They're all being, it's been all being very, very well received. So a couple of the things then that I'm adding in this section is to bring some clarity. This particular page is an illustration of how we would propose that the tax rate that we're currently collecting right now related to the bond levy there is 10.159. You see right in the middle of the page up here. And that's the one that we know is going to be maturing over the next couple of years. And so again, our proposal is to be focused on not increasing our overall tax rate. In fact, as I am already working with bond attorneys on ballot language and stuff too, what we are currently sitting on, the ballot question would start with the phrase, without increasing the tax rate of 10.159 mils currently being levied by Falcon School District. So that is language that the bond attorney is comfortable with already as well. So again, so in December 2015, so just last month, recall that we set the mill levy rates. That's our normal pattern. Mill levy rates are set every December. They're assessed to taxpayers or owners of their property at record as of December 31st of that year. And then those taxes are collected in the ensuing months of the spring of the following year. So again, just last month, we recognized our assessed valuation growth to $751 million. And again, this is a group of what I call the actionable mill levy rates. Our total mill levy rate has the general fund mill levy, which is 24 mils, a little over 24 mils. That also is totally fixed by the School Finance Act of 1994. It's been fixed for all of those years. So there's nothing we can do to increase or decrease that. The only other unactionable, if you will, rate is the abatement rate, and that's unactionable only because it's just formulaic. It's talking about what taxes were abated in the prior year and make sure that that's collected this year. So these are the portions of the mill levy that we take action on, specific action on every year. Again, the 2006 MLO is what we worked with last year when we asked the voters in the 2014 election to allow us to use some of those funds for operating purposes in ballot measure 3A. So that measure passed. We've been consistently assessing 9.80 mils for that, and that, as you can see, projected to continue. So again, all the action is happening over here in the bond levy. Historically, if you recall last month that we talked about, we actually decreased that mill rate from what had been 11.2 for several years down to the 10.159. So it was a full mill reduction in that particular item. And a mill may not sound like a lot, but really when we're talking 21 mils of this actionable, that's a 5% change in that. So it's also not really anything to sneeze at either. What we'll see happen then again though is as we go into next year, is this bond levy will start to go down as those bonds mature. We reach maturity and we pay those bonds out in 2017. And so again, what we're proposing then is that we start to migrate this over to a new MLO in the November election. And you see how it would layer in so that we never exceed the 10.159 for the combination of these two pieces. And what we demonstrate then over here on the side is that these two in conjunction then with the original levy override will stay consistent and have no increase in these out years. So that's kind of what we're proposing, and that's kind of how I wanted to illustrate that. Does that make sense? Any questions on that page?
So just as a taxpayer, if I were to vote for that, my taxes basically on my property would stay about the same. But if the community says no, then that portion of our tax goes away after 17? Is that the difference?
That's true.
So that's what we're asking. We're gonna end up asking voters either keep it the same like it is, let us keep using it, or.
Yeah, we're giving the opportunity to maintain that investment again, and then allowing us to do a lot of good things, which we've talked a lot about, and I'll show you some more details on one of the priorities in particular. If you recall, that we had four priorities is what we're looking for. We have the building opportunities, we're calling it, for the regular high schools, so 3 regular high schools as the first priority, and that's to recognize that there's a couple things that facility-wise they need in their buildings, and that would kind of help get them be equivalent to what each of them need going forward. Second priority, of course, is to reinvest in our current facilities that we have. We have 22 buildings, educational buildings throughout the district, of varying ages, and I'll get to that here in a minute. And the third priority that we're asking for is to continue some investment in the teacher compensation, which we already started, again, with the 2014 3A question that we're using that 2006 MLO money for now. And then the fourth priority being to build two new buildings for the elementary capacity. So yes, if that were not to pass and these mill rates would go down, this new one would not be coming on board, and so the overall taxes would be going down.
And that's after a tax decrease of 1 mil
Right,
this year.
exactly.
So similar to what the city offered us in the voters group, what was it, last
Just last month, yeah, or, I mean, last November, yeah,
November?
15.
Right.
True, and you could continue that parallel.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay, any other questions on this slide illustration? All right. The next one. Will you help me zoom in on this?
Sure.
Matt, but before I do that, let me set it up a little bit. You guys know I'm a spreadsheet guy, right? So I'm really happy and excited about this. So forgive me if my excitement isn't shared. But again, priority 2 is to reinvest in our current facilities. And what we want to do was be able to take a portion of what we could generate in revenue wise and invest that with a 10-year certificate of participation instrument, so we could generate a good size of money to do a current investment pool. That would be targeted right now at about $20 million to reinvest in buildings. So the big question was how would we distribute that amongst the buildings? In earlier presentations, I've indicated to you that I wanted to have some recognition of both building size and the age of the buildings. We have a pretty wide range of the age of the buildings in the district. And with our newest one having just been built last year with RMCA, and our oldest one, you can see on the list here, being Patriot Learning Center, what we're calling the Falco Legacy Campus, built in 1952. So that's a wide range. So if I can zoom in a little bit now, here what you'll see is I started to just look go back to the left, I'm sorry, please, at the core buildings, the core instructional buildings, the regular buildings, not the modular space. So modular space is excluded from this analysis. And so what we did was supposed to look at the square footage totals of all of the original square footage of these buildings and when that was built. Then adding on some buildings that had additions and renovations and where those spaces added on to what we get to really the current now total size of that building. It's really interesting to look at a school like Evans. You can see it opened in 1976 with only 9,400 square feet and has been really grossed up in size to a 53,000 square foot building now. with 4 separate renovations over the year. So that gave me kind of a base, an initial base allocation method of total square footage that I could use. But I wanted to again then weight that allocation by the age of the building. So I calculated here a weighted average of the year of the age of the building. So again, Evans is a good example, having that original build in 1976, but you can see these additions in 79, 81, 2000, and 2003 for various pieces of that building. So calculate that to a weighted average age of having been built in 1988. Okay, I take that across again the full group, and I come down here to say our average building this is now about 16 years old, having the weighted average that's the year 2000. So I do the initial allocation of $20 million, so you can see down here at the bottom, and allocating that up through all the buildings, again, originally based on just the square footage allocation. And then we start weighting that for the age. The weights for the age then, I determined would range between either 0 or 200%. If someone would brand new building would actually be decreased. The older buildings would get increases of their initial allocation based again on their age. So I'll continue to use that as a good example right there at the top. The initial allocation would be at $679,000, but being in 1988 is 12 years older than the average age of the buildings in the district. So we would gross that up, and the calculations I'm using at this point are 6% per year, different from the mean. So 6 years times or 6% times 12 years is 72. So that then ends up as 172% of that base allocation. So it gets then from $679,000 to $1.1 million. So as I've gone over this with a lot of folks before presenting it to you, people seem to like how that was recognizing the fact that that was an older building, and a lot of these were older buildings and needed that refurbishment to a larger degree than some of the newer ones did. When I did that weighting, it had the unintended effect of trimming the overall investment down to just below $19 million here, which of course wasn't the intention. So I redistributed that $1 million on pro rata on what we ended up with there to come back to a full $20 million allocation along this pattern here. I love spreadsheets. It's good. It's a good stuff.
So the additions to the school, the square footage.
Yeah.
Are those the bunkers? Oh, modulars, sorry about that.
No. Remember I said that I specifically excluded all the modular space in the entire analysis. So these are additions to the main facility, to the permanent facility, if you will.
So, but this proposal will eliminate as many modulars, so to speak.
It may, it could. I honestly can't say that. If you look down here in the lower, if we can zoom in on that lower box, Matt, in terms of the intended target spends, that's not even necessarily listed as what we are initially intending these monies to be spent for. If that's what the school may decide on, that can be considered. But really, we're talking about with this priority, this pool number 2 priority, as the reinvestment and the refurbishment of that current facility. Okay, not the expansion of it. Because in most cases, in order to eliminate some of that modular space, we have to be expanding. Okay, so again, back down on that lower box, the intended target spends again are this. The first column here targets what I call kind of mid-building life assets, the assets that aren't designed to last the full 30, 50 years of a school building: chairs, carpet, desks, paint, lockers, things like that. The second column here is some efficiency and optimization type of opportunities that we would suggest. IT infrastructure, we know wireless is just exploding. We're needing a lot more wireless connections in all of our buildings. Jack has talked a lot about LED lighting and what we could do with that in terms of providing some efficiencies in our utility bills. So HVAC and RTUs, et cetera. And then the column on the right is the aesthetic and functional improvements we could do. How is the building just basically looking from aesthetic, and then how is it functioning in terms of parking and entry, the ingress and egress to the building. So those are the things that we're going to go in. And I say we is really going to be Jack and Melissa having these discussions with them. But again, having that discussion with the schools and say, okay, here's kind of what we observe, but tell us what do you want to do? And those are discussions we have throughout the course of the spring then. So we could say, for instance, if you scroll over to the right there and look at Sand Creek High School right now has an allocation of $2.7 million. That is a nice amount of money to reinvest and refurbish that building. And those discussions will happen at that school level, again with participation, advice, and guidance from the facilities group and from planning to say, okay, what do we want to do?
Okay, how long does it take to get that 20 million to do this? Is this gonna be over time? It's not gonna be all in 1 year, all this is gonna come in and happen, right?
No, we would be getting that because effectively we would be, again, entering in this financing instrument, a new certificate of participation, which would be a 10-year repayment. So we would get that money right up front, that $20 million right up front, as soon as we finish that and then pay it back over the next 10 years. And again, the reason we want to target a 10-year term is so that we can do it again in 10 years. And so we can get into a cycle of good reinvestment and refurbishment of these buildings. And that would all happen within this same tax stream, so we never have to really be increasing taxes in the future to do this. So it kind of would get us in a great pattern, all without having to even increase the taxes from where they're at right now.
That's very good. I don't know how we could, share that with the public in a way which is catchy.
That's why we have this guy, Matt Meister, behind. He's a catchy guy.
That's amazing. That's very good. That's good governance. That's really is.
Yeah, just, I'm elated over this because a lot of the discussions that I've had, myself or Ron have had with the principals and zone leaders about this is going in and doing some refurbishing or refreshing of buildings, but we really don't have the dollars to be able to do it. We can come up with something else. I'm a limited member of Brett's spreadsheet tribe and nowhere near like this. So when he first shared this with me, I was pretty excited about it because being a former CFO, I looked at this and said, this is awesome. It's a way for us to really be able to have a recurring investment in our own physical plant.
Without raising taxes.
And will you let us know what the prioritizations are of the builds, such as security, safety, aesthetics?
Exactly. One of the things that we'll go back and do is do a follow-up from our fall visits when we go out and visit with the building principals and trying to establish their needs. But it was somewhat limited because we really don't have a lot of the resources to be able to do it. It'd be kind of nice to know that, it takes Sand Creek an allocation of $2.7 million. I imagine I can have some pretty good discussions with Ron Hamilton and Sean as well to be able to say, okay, how do we want to retrofit this building for education of today and tomorrow?
I think if I could speak into this, what I'm pleased with is I see a proactive maintenance and instead of allowing our buildings to degrade and then do what I call catastrophic repairs. I appreciate it because it's cheaper to fix it now than it is when it fails. And the other thing I also like that you have considered the 10-year payback on the money, the interest savings of not stretching the debt out on a 30-year bond is incredible. And I really appreciate that. This will allow us to get ahead of our maintenance problems and won't end up with the crisis repairs like we saw at Horizon, where we were just basically fixing chronically leaking roof. It just was a waste of money, and now we've got it right. So I really appreciate all the insight into this in a proactive sense. Thank you.
We're just about, of course, barely into this process, but everyone who is from the outside who's already been privy to this is really excited and getting a lot of why didn't I think of that type of ideas to an approach like this where we're layering in a 25-year instrument and a 10-year instrument and then also having a piece towards operations. Getting a lot of kudos and a lot of well wishes that say hey, this should work. This is really a great plan.
It's very forward.
Thank you, appreciate it. Any other questions?
Just speaks to this power of Excel, right?
Power of Excel. Innovation. Thanks.
Do you need to zoom in? I'm gonna probably
we need you to do. So.
You just want to do it, or you want?
No, I'm
So now we are on to the amended budget update. Ron.
Yeah, more spreadsheets. Good evening, Ron Springs, Group Finance Manager. Continuing our discussion as we travel down to our amended budget. If you remember, last time we got together, I laid out many of our Fund 10 changes, and so tonight I want to go over some of the other funds that we're looking at as we go down. Can everyone see that? Can you zoom into the top right? So this page is, you'll see in all of our financial packets, has a lot of good history in here and is a good sum total of all of our funds on one page. It just shows our total revenue and total expenses for the year. And it starts with our proposed budget. Oops, sorry. Starts with our proposed budget, has our amended budget, and shows what kind of variances we're looking at. We discussed last time we met that we were going to have an unbalanced budget, but that was because due to our fund balance that we currently have, we can sustain that. The one caveat to that I'll explain with the Fund 10 is CDE right now is, for lack of a better term, kind of dragging their feet on finalizing October count data, and we don't have final numbers from them yet. And so we will be passing an amended budget at the next board meeting. However, we will be having to do a supplemental follow-up once we get that data from CDE. So as we talk about some of the other funds, this next fund down here, and I'll go into more detail here. This is Fund 16. This is our MLO fund. So you can see some of the changes here, and I'll go into much more detail later on discussions as I go. This is, I'm sorry, can you go to the left? Oh, I got it here. So this is our reserve insurance fund. Looking at about $100K adjustment in revenue and expenses there. And then just some minor, as you go down the page, just some minor changes to Kids Corner, the bond redemption fund, just some minor changes. When I submitted this package last week, I had an increase here on the spending for the transportation or Fund 25 or fee for service fund. And I've done some further review of that, and I don't believe we will need this adjustment going forward. So I'll make sure to detail that out once I give you guys the amended budget, just to make sure you can see that I took that change out. So disregard that. So getting back to MLO, can you please pull back up? Yeah. So you can see here increasing revenue and increasing expenses in that fund. And I'll go into some detail now. Okay. I want to ground you again, maybe just a little bit more for John, since he wasn't here when the 3A was kind of decided how we were going to divvy out or distribute those funds to the schools. But two pieces of information to kind of figure that out. The first one is how many kids we have and where are they? Because if you remember, we had two different pools of how we were going to distribute that. One was a pool of just the Falcons district residents, and that was an 80% pool. But we didn't want to leave out the kids that were choicing in, and so we have a 20% pool that we're including them in. So we needed to wait for our October count to get finalized, so till we could get a proper number for those for that part of the bucket. And then the second part of the bucket is this, what's the value, the property tax valuations coming in, and is there going to be an increase, decrease on that? What do we need to do there? And so at our current 9.8 mils, right down here. I know this is hard to see. Yeah, thank you. Brett showed you that on one of his pages as well. Just want to kind of tie back there. That's producing almost $7.4 million. Now we're capped at 7.5 mil at this 9.8. So property taxes, we can go a little bit higher in property taxes and get to that 7.5 million, but we're getting close to that. But that is producing some opportunity now for some increased spending in the MLO area. Okay. Any questions there? Excellent. So this is a description kind of how we are looking this year. So if this column here, this shows our, thank you, Kayla. Total revenue coming in for the MLO, and then our certificate of participation repayment priorities here, which then leaves how much money we have available for our MLO or 3A spending. This is the amount that was for 2014. Here's the amount for 2015-16. So you can see we went up close to 750, 800,000 there. So not too shabby. Okay, next page. I can do that, I guess. This is the 2014. No, this is the same page. Sorry. Yeah, let's go. Okay, so I know this is busy. I'm a spreadsheet guy too. I didn't necessarily create this one, but I understand it. So you can see up in the top corner, thank you. Here's the new pools that we have just figured out from our October count. So this is our resident pool. This is the all pool. And this is how it bakes out as far as the dollar-wise going to each of these pools. So dollar amounts going to the coordinated schools, current year allocation of 2.2, and then to the charter schools, about 630,000 for that total we saw on the last page of 2.9 million. Now we didn't last year when this became available to us. We wanted people to start thinking and going in. Not trying to spend the money all at once. So, we said, hey, go ahead and if you have something great, if you don't, go ahead and carry it over. So that this is the carryover that we had for people not using that MLO funds for last year, giving us 4 million in funds available for 15-16. Okay, so how does that get allocated out? Okay, let's start down bottom right, Kayla.
Oops, sorry.
Okay, if you remember, we can spend these funds in 4 different categories: compensation, programs, safety, security, and technology. You can see here this is the aggregated district total for the district.
Go back a page.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, try to go back one page. That should have been last year's data. Oh, yes, thank you. They are very same. They're very similar. This one is the one. This is the one I was expecting. I was looking for this $4 million number as we explained earlier. So I apologize for that. That includes the current year allocation with the carry forward, and then this is how it's been divvied out for the district in the different. What's that? So far, correct. Right, you're right. We put most of the budget in this technology, but people can move that depending on what they want get it used for. So now go up to the just a little bit. Yeah, thank you. So during the zone leader meetings, the administration and the zone leaders get together and decide on, okay, of that amount we have, what can we use that would benefit the entire district? So we cull out a little bit of those monies to kind of benefit the entire district. So this, you can see here, we have 384 in safety and security. That was kind of a carryover from last year for some door locks and stuff like that. The 500 here is for concurrent enrollment, and the 460, the 460 in is for the teacher salary repositioning. Okay, so once we got those monies pulled out, now we can go to the left and see what's remaining for now the coordinated schools and the charter schools. So pretty much just a calculation, but just carries that money over here. We have determined through those pools where that money is going as far as which zone, and you can kind of see over here in the gray how that's being distributed by zone. So, any questions on that?
Well, I think I'd comment, because I sit on the mill levy
Yes.
oversight committee.
Yeah.
There's a committee that the zones, the schools come and say, here's how we want to spend that money. And we have a great committee that makes sure it fits these criteria that were passed by the voters. So there are criteria on how the money can be spent, and the schools are actually making decisions, and the zones are making decisions on how that money is spent. So we are honoring the oversight that was sponsored, that was promised in the language of the ballot.
Right.
And that's
They've done a great job.
Yeah, it's like Shark Tank. That sometimes
It is.
they destroy it if you're off track.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions on this? Hope everyone's following along. Okay. So I'm going to show you examples of some of the work the finance department has done, and we're going to put this. We're going to start showing this as regular slides and at the board meetings going forward, just so everyone can see what's going on, what's happening in each school. So this again shows the grid of how we but this is kind of how you're going to see things. This is a summary level. I'm going to get to one of the schools here, so I'll start here at Falcon Zone. So this is a page that the zones will be getting, so they can know how much money they have to spend and where they're spending it, and anyone who's interested can see where they're spending it. So you can see they've got safety and security here, one-time spend for just school security. Then some tech equipment at Woodman Hills down here. So you can see here's their carryover. It shows them what they've been allocated for 15-16 and how much they can start with. Now, we have a little bit of a funding issue at the beginning of the year. As you know, taxes don't come in until later on, March, April timeframe. And so we don't want them to go ahead and spend it all at the beginning of the year because we won't have the cash to fund that. So the MLO committee actually came up with the idea of starting the year with only spending 60% of that budget, and then being able to spend that through April, and then starting at April in the fourth quarter, being able to spend the rest of it. So you can see here, it shows them how much they have to start with, what they're going to be getting in the fourth quarter, and then the total available. And this will be again available for everyone to look as we go forward. Any questions? Working diligently to get the data into the system so we can get you a budget package.
So this will be in the budget that's online and in our packets moving forward for the public and for us, right?
Correct.
Yeah, we'll start, this particular report will start including with the monthly board report in terms of the actual spending as well. So yeah, we'll put these in not only in the budget package, but it'll be in the monthly reports there as a supplement to that.
Any other questions? And so we need to move this forward then for January 27th as a special meeting item to approve our amended budget.
That's correct.
Thank you very much. And Brett, I think you have the charter school budgets.
Well, so, yeah, the next item is the charter school budgets, because again, as the authorizer for our charter schools, it's still this board's authority responsibility to approve and oversee their budgets. I did not have these budgets in time to get it into the package, but I provided you hard copies for 4 out of the 5 charter schools. The charter school, I don't have that quite yet. So you have that information from them. We also will be getting a good summary template available for the final package. And then also at the January 27th meeting, they will be bringing their own representatives to provide you with explanation on what is happening in their own amended budgets related to their changes in pupil count and how that affected their revenue and how that affected their expense. And I've also asked them to address their spend on MLO op spends. So look forward to that on the next meeting.
Is there anything we should be looking at on there? Is there anything that concerns you? Are we good? What
Well,
are your thoughts?
You know, of the charters, a lot of the charter schools really had pretty tight on their budgets for pupil count, so that's not really causing a lot of change. The one that is changing a lot is Gold Academy, which is 800 students higher than budget. So Mr. Enright's back there, and I know they've been working on their budget because that's a lot of kids to cover. We'll look forward to that one, I think, in particular on what they are doing to cover the needs of those additional students and how they're spending the revenue that will come with that.
In the charter schools, MLO spends also go through our MLO oversight committee, correct?
That's correct. And in fact, you won't see a budget for them in their packages because all those MLO spends still stay on the district books. So what they do is they come up with the ideas, they make the presentations to the MLO oversight committee, who endorses or otherwise modifies their requests, and then they go ahead and will make that action and then apply to the district to be reimbursed for that spend. So the spend will always be in our Fund 16, that Ron was just showing there, it'll always show up on the district coordinated books.
Any other questions on the charter school piece? Okay, then let's move that forward for action on the 27th as well, please. You're on to 10.0, other business, which will be an executive session. And so we are actually going to take a 10-minute recess prior to going into executive session, because when we go into executive session, we'll need the room to clear, and it will only be voting board members present for that piece. No decisions are made in executive session. It's just information that needs to be provided to the board based on order citation, which at this point will be for about security arrangements, which can't be discussed in public session. But we get the information and we come out of executive session before we make any decisions. So I'd like to take a recess now.
I move to recess for 10 minutes.
So we'll be back. We're gonna try and be back at 8 o'clock, guys.
Thank you.
That's it, right? Yeah. Yep.